Welcome to the post-edition edition.
Post-edition edition?
Yeah, does that even make sense? But no, of Mainely Motorsports, post-Thanksgiving edition of Mainely Motorsports. And here with Greg Emerson, you know, a little...
bigger than last week's co-host.
Bigger than last week, huh? Man, I must look I had to look huge compared to those kids, huh? But what a great job they all did. Sulo, Ivan, then to hear from the McAlpine girls, Emma Libby, Evan Harriman, all the ones up there in the northern part of the state. And then, you know, Alicia, a little bit shyer than her dad. But we got her on camera and got her to, you know, talk a little bit about what her plans are. So she's pretty excited about her 2012 opportunities. Yeah,
and I like Dave's little cars that he had going across the bottom of the screen.
Wasn't that the coolest? Huh? Yeah. But, you know, so hopefully you get a chance to see some of those kids as well as a lot of other young drivers up there at the
Northeast Motorsports Expo.
24th Annual Northeast Motorsports Expo. We just got confirmation that Andy Santerre is going to travel up from his home down in the Carolinas again to spend the weekend up there. So, you know, it's pretty good because Andy, he's very popular up here in the state of Maine still.
Yeah.
He does not drive anymore. You know, some people know, some don't know that he's, you know, the head of the driver diversity program. And it's really, I don't know if it's a NASCAR affiliated thing or if they just get support from NASCAR. But Andy...
Hopefully we can get in contact with him, get him on the phone.
Yeah, maybe do a phone interview with him before. But he had Darrell Wallace and Sergio Pena, you know. They didn't win the championship in the K&N East Series, but they won half the races.
Right.
So with Andy leading the troops. So,
right.
You know, very, very knowledgeable, very, and he loves coming back to Maine. He loves it. You know, last year, you'll see some photos here. There he is with a young fan. And this is probably one of my favorite photos of him. A lot of people don't realize when he moved into the Busch North Series, he took the ride and didn't take it. You know, Mike was moving on to do other things, but he replaced Mike Rowe in the O'Connor
GMC number 15,
car, you know, and sponsored by Sugarloaf, and there's a chance that car might be on display up at the Augusta show.
Oh, really? That'd be cool.
So it's neat that Andy's coming back and meeting and greeting the fans, and you know, that's what this show's all about. I mean, yeah, I know years ago what Tim was able to bring for drivers on the national spotlight level, but the days are gone. You know,
that was before they wanted half a year's salary from somebody to come up.
Thousands of dollars, you know. So, you know, guys like Andy will have some more announcements leading up to it. But that's it's pretty big to have him come back.
We're in the first week of December. Racing's over up here, but racing wasn't over last week, and it's still not over down south.
No, you got the Derby this week. Which we don't have a big. A few years back, Cassius and Johnny traveled the Snowball Derby, but we don't have that influx now. But we had a big representation down at the Mason-Dixon Meltdown.
It's the Pass Final.
Yeah, the final Pass race. It's a Pass South and Pass National race.
Right, yeah. And, you know, that was their finale for the National Championship and the South Championship also.
And they were both tight battles.
Yeah, and they had a good car count. They had like 34 cars, 35 cars, something like that. So we have very limited information on the whole scenario, but what we do, let's touch a little base on that for a minute.
Yeah, I mean, Colt James, you know, a Southern guy, picked up the win, had a great battle with Ryan Blaney, who was after the championship. So how much did Ryan lay out on the table at the end, knowing that he basically had that championship won as long as he didn't screw up? So second, third, fourth, fifth, that was going to mean a championship. So, yeah, you obviously want to win the race, but, you know, there's a young fella looking at the big picture.
Right.
He's adding a championship to his resume.
Yeah.
So he does it.
He's won some races, so he knows what it's all about.
You know, the national championship.
That went to Ben Rowe.
Ben Rowe, you know, and didn't have a great run. You know, broke a bolt off in the shifter, went, I think, like 4 or 5 laps down.
Yeah, it was... not a good day for him, but they got what they pretty much went there to accomplish, I assume, you know, without talking to anybody. But
no Northerners really. I mean, usually when we go south with a big contingent, and the guys we took south,
usually got a few that are
you're bringing some type of hardware back.
Right. I mean, they didn't have great runs, but they had good runs. You know, Austin Terrio finished 12th. I mean, Cassius finished 14th. DJ Shaw finished 15th. Ben ended up 18th. Joey Dorian ended up 25th. And then you got Scott Alexander. He finishes 22nd. But I know you want to touch on this.
I want to talk a little bit about Scott Alexander. You know, everybody goes to the pass races up
Yeah.
here in the north. You see the number 17, this Travis Benjamin. But there's a second number 17 that supports this tour pretty regularly, and that's Scott Alexander. And Scott traveled to all the north races, the national races down south, the national races up here, and he found himself finishing 6th place in points in the national series and 6th place in points in the north. Now you look who he finished behind in the north. Obviously, guys like Travis Benjamin,
some heavy hitters.
you know, Johnny Clark, Ben Rowe, Lonnie Somerville.
Yeah.
You know, these guys, they're no slouches.
And you know, it's a fine example of somebody putting their nose down and digging through.
No wins.
And, right.
Not even a top 5 this year. His top finish, and I wouldn't think it would come on a track like this, but his top finish was a 6th at Thompson.
Right.
And, you know, knows what he's going to at the track with. You know, he does it with his dad. A lot of times he's got his son with him. You know, a couple little volunteers show up here and there, but just mostly him and his dad.
Right.
You know, no real sponsorship, doing it out of pocket, but he's chasing the dream. He's racing against what we call the best. No slouches at the Beech Ridges
Right.
and Oxfords and Unities on Saturday nights, but you want to put yourself up against the best, you go tour racing. That's the way it is.
And by doing that, you know, don't be surprised if you see Scott Alexander break through sometime,
yeah,
you know?
and I mean, Gary Smith did this
Perfect
year.
example.
You know, so congratulations to Scott Alexander and his whole organization for 2 6th place finishes in points this year on the Pro All-Star Series, National and North.
Right.
We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.
Patman's Redemption and Agency Liquor Store is located at 95 Tanberg Trail in Windham, Maine. With over 400 feet of hard liquor and 15 doors of ice-cold beer and soda, Patman's can handle all of your beverage needs. And if it's wine on your agenda, we have over 300 varieties in stock. Then when the party's over, Patman's can handle all of your Maine returnables, and we welcome all bottle drives. And if you're late for the race, drop off the bottles and pick up the cash at your convenience.
Hey, this is Pat Man himself, just letting you know that Pat Man's is your one-stop shop for all your thirsty needs.
You're watching Mainly Motorsports, brought to you by Gary Hotels, located in Brunswick, Freeport, Waterville, and Augusta, the official hotel of Mainly Motorsports.
Well, welcome back to Mainly Motorsports, and this past weekend, Greg, or past week, hammered with snow again.
Yep.
So it's snowmobile season, and there's a lot of great people out there. We've touched on a couple of them, supporters of our show. But if you're looking for a trailer, sled, apparel, parts, one of the top places to go throughout the state is Scott's Recreation, right down in Route 4 in Turner, 202 in Manchester, and then obviously up there in Holton, and you guys see it on the commercials, and they have a lot to choose from. We're going to let Scott tell you a little bit about what he has to offer and what his stores are all about. So enjoy this piece with Scott Lanpher on Scott's Recreation. Here with the owner of Scott's Recreation, and got a beautiful display up here at the Augusta Civic Center for the MSA show. And you've been coming up here for I don't know how many years, but I've been coming for 5 years, and you've been here for them many years.
Yeah, it's another Maine snowmobile show. It's that time of year to start thinking about winter.
Yeah, and obviously this weekend's beautiful weather, but it's just around the corner. And you know, I want to talk a little bit about the clothing line up here. And you know, you've got so many different types of clothing, sizes, and you know, that's I guess one of the questions, because I talk to a lot of big guys in my community and the businesses I'm in, and they're always complaining that they can't find the big sizes. What do you have over at Scott's Recreation? It'll fit the 3 and 4X guys.
We call that the Steve Perry special. It's been a learning process, to be honest with you. We the first few years, that's what we ran out first, and so now we've learned to stock up to 5X, and there's big guys in Maine like you and I.
Yeah, and you know, you need to be comfortable, especially out on a sled. Now, you got a bunch of trailers outside on display. I mean, some small stuff, some bigger stuff. Now you've got 2 places where they can go and get these trailers. But what do you think is going to be the big seller this year?
Well, I think the big thing now is people are spending so much money on their snowmobiles that they want to protect them, and the enclosed trailers are very popular. The inlines, especially, ease of towability by being inside the width of your vehicle, and the hybrids and the crossovers, which are kind of in between a clamshell and a drive-in, drive-out. Now, you got the location up in Manchester, and you know, people right off 109 head towards, what's the town, Winthrop, right? Yes, it's 2 miles west of Augusta, Winthrop, exit 109 on Route 202.
But let's touch on the new location out there. It was formerly another business, and then you took it over, and you know, you're starting to push the trail line and get that back up out there in Turner.
Yeah, it was formerly United Sports. It's where most people will probably know it as the home of the Snowmobile Museum, which still is there intact, and we will be having an open house for the museum pretty quick, and date to be announced. And what we're trying to do over there is to duplicate exactly what we do in Manchester. We're going to have it be an RV center like we have in Manchester that also sells trailers. They actually stock a lot more trailers there than we do at the Manchester store because they have many other lines. It's kind of a unique situation because we're a distributor there as well, so we sell to other dealers. And we also are the North American distributor for Easton Township Docks, which is a new business that I'm trying to learn, but a very exciting one that I'm really happy that we acquired.
So you got to be one of the state's bigger dealers when it comes to trailers.
I believe we are, yes.
Yeah, so now they can get the small ones, and obviously we're talking snowmobile season, but you know there's still some people with collector cars that they haul their cars down south for the winter, and you know the guy that's trying to impress the new sponsor on the race car side of things, and you got heavily into that in the last couple of years.
We have you know everything from 5x8 utility trailers for $500 or $600 to 2-place open snowmobile trailers for $9.99, brand new aluminum trailers, all the way up to, I think we got one 48-foot gooseneck race car trailer over there in Turner right now. And we really found that people want to be able to come in and touch it and feel it, you know, before they buy it, and you got to stock it. So the race car side of it has been really good for us. We plan to expand on those trailers next year and have a better offering. We sold out this year, and going to bring in more next year and hope people continue to come in and buy them.
Yeah, and that's, you know, the two locations, you know, that's what makes it nice, because if you're not close to one, you might be close to the other, and, you know, and it allows you to have double the inventory.
It does. It's been a tremendous benefit for us, and when we were looking at that, I mean, Route 202, obviously, you know, 25,000 cars a day for a car count, same car count over on Route 4, so it was really exciting to be able to get on two major routes like that and to be able to only be about 25 minutes apart, so that if a customer comes in and we don't have exactly what they're looking for, we pull it up online and send them to Turner.
Yeah, so you got everything, the clothing, you sell sleds up at Holton Power Sports, and then the trailers. So, I mean, there's nothing that nobody can't get when they're dealing with Scott and his fleet of businesses.
We hope so, yeah. We'd really like to be known as the place to go for any outdoor style of recreation that you want, from clothing to trailers and snowmobiles, ATVs, motorcycles, trying to cover it all.
Well, like the commercials say, too, you got great deals going on campers right now.
September was the biggest month, and it's all price driven. It tends to bring out the bargain hunters, and right now we have over 200 snowmobile trailers on order, so we really need to clean out the rest of the campers to have room to park those on the pavement, and it's working. No better time to buy a camper than right now.
All right, so campers, snowmobile trails, you got it all. So I want to thank you for taking the time with us here on Mainly Motorsports, and encourage all our viewers to get out and support Scott and his family over there at one of their 3 locations.
Thanks very much, Steve. Appreciate it.
All right, take care.
All of us at Moody's Collision Centers would like to thank you for supporting us for over 30 years.
We all own stock in Moody's and have a vested interest in you and your vehicle.
The people at Moody's Collision Centers are part of the community, and our reputation is very important to us.
We take pride in our work and guarantee our repairs for as long as you own your vehicle.
At Moody's Collision Center, we care about our customers.
So when your insurance company asks where you want to go, tell them Moody's Collision Centers. 4 convenient locations: Gorham, Scarborough, Biddeford, and now Portland.
At Southern Maine Motors, we're celebrating Jeep's 70th anniversary with our spring events. Get the vehicle you want at a price no one else can touch, like a 2011 Jeep Compass, lease for only $239 a month for 39 months, or a 2011 Jeep Grand Cherokee, lease for only $299 a month. Plus, right now, used car values are at an all-time high. Bring in your own vehicle and drive off in a brand new car. With savings this big, it's no wonder Southern Maine Motors is out to be Maine's #1 Chrysler Dodge Jeep dealer. Visit southernmainmotors.com.
You're watching Mainly Motorsports, brought to you by Scott's Recreation, now at 3 convenient locations. Go to scottsrecreation.com to view their inventory. Clark's Car Crushing, located in Hollowell, providing guaranteed honest weights with top dollar being paid.
Well, Greg, we've been doing the championships.
Yep.
You know, Some of them, the drivers kind of like the highlight. And I'm not saying the driver isn't the highlight in all of them. But this next group that we caught up with,
right?
I hate to use the word famous, but pretty recognizable. We'll put it that way.
Yes.
Recognizable from the shows, the traveling they've done, the hauler they use, everything about them, and the name. You know, so we traveled over to Hollis and caught up with the Hannaford Racing Team
down on Bear Hill Road.
Bear Hill Road, and Goodwin and Goodwin's son Arthur, who's now playing a major role in it. And next week, you tune back in and you'll be able to hear about and hear from their driver Josh Cantera, young driver, plopped in the seat of one of the more notarized rides or noticed rides throughout Maine and New Hampshire.
Yeah.
On the modified level. And
who doesn't know the black and orange teaches Pat?
Yeah, number 71. So enjoy what Ann, Goodwin, and Arthur have to say, not only about the 2011 season, but some of the things that led up to the 2011 success. Okay, Ann, we have every team out there. You always hear the team mom or the girlfriend or the wife or somebody that takes care of the team.
Yep.
But you really go above the call of that. You're more hands-on with the actual racing operation than just throwing a couple hot dogs in a steamer.
Yeah, I don't do the hot dogs in the steamer at all. We don't even have a steamer. Actually, I have billed myself as the general manager of the team. Whether I am or not, that's all right. It's on the fan cards that's what I am. But no, I take care of the tires. I used to change tires, but I'm not able to do that anymore. And we have plenty of crew now that jump in there and do it for us. But I keep track of I time every lap. I make sure that dinner's going. I make everything the Friday night before, and just keep the whole thing rolling. Keep my eye on Goodwin.
Yeah, that's a full-time job, right?
Well,
so you cook every week. Geez, if me and Greg went, that would be pretty good. Maybe me and Greg could help you guys next year, huh?
Well, I don't want to say this loudly, but everybody's always invited.
Oh, I know. And but you touched on a little bit, and I want to touch on a little more. The early years.
Mm-hmm.
I remember seeing you at the car shows, hobbling around on crutches. You had a knee operation. You and Goodwin, changing tires, doing this, doing that. And then obviously at the racetrack, you and Goodwin, and then whatever you had for a driver. How much easier is it now with the help? But how much do you miss when it was that you and Goodwin type of just the two of you doing it all?
You hit on it right there. It's when we did it all, we had a driver that was always from New Hampshire, and or pretty much we had New Hampshire drivers, and we'd get to the racetrack and just the two of us getting there on the truck, and we'd unload, and our driver would come over and jump in the seat, and we'd do everything else. If we had a wreck or something, usually the people that were on either side of us would come out and help us, but because I just didn't do well in that kind of situation. But now, at first it was a little hard, giving up.
Yeah, stepping back, yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. But if I make myself think about it, I'm better off doing it that way because I'm not hurting myself like I could be.
And I almost relate this to baseball. You hear guys when they get transferred to the American League and they can become a DH, a designated hitter, they still play a major role in the team, but it probably prolongs their career. This is something that could allow you and Goodwin to go longer because of, you know what I mean? You're getting some help because now you're able to, you know?
Yeah, I don't know that I want to prolong it all that much.
No, no, exactly. No, I can imagine. But what a rewarding year this year had to be. I mean, there's been great years over the years, but to call yourself, you and Goodwin, you know, that championship. Yeah. Talk about the driver, the young man that you guys have in the seat. You know, what makes him so special as a driver, but also as a young man out of the car. Because what I try to instill in a lot of these young talent is it doesn't only matter what you do in the seat, as what it does on the outside of the seat too. Because you're a role model to kids. You know, there's fans up there that look upon you, and Josh has both sides of it.
Yeah, he does. It's an interesting. You asked Josh how did it work between he and Goodwin, and that's the magic part right there. I don't know what it is. I don't know what they have, but it's some kind of really special relationship, grandfather and grandson, or I hate to say father and son because there's a little too much gap there, but they truly are magic together. Josh puts the car on and wears it, and Goodwin knows what the car is doing and can make it do what he wants it to do, based on some of the input Josh gives him, and the input that comes from the tires, the input that he gets from all of us watching it, and the times, you know, the lap times and everything. And we've had other outstanding drivers in the past, but Josh tops them all.
Now, Josh has to be the youngest driver that you've had. Was that a little concerning to you when you first decided, as you and Goodwin, that that's the route you were going to go? And it's like, geez, do we know what we're in for, you know, with a young driver?
Well, I guess you have to divide it into two kinds of young. There are rookies, and then rookie drivers in this class, and then there are young, chronologically young people. And Josh fit the chronologically young person, but he had the maturity in the seat for us to be really confident. And Goodwin is a very good judge of character, and he chose Josh, and it was a good choice.
Yeah, obviously. Now, these black and orange number 71s are as famous as any other race car throughout Maine and New Hampshire, but almost as equally as famous is that hauler that you ride in every week. You've gone over the mountains to the racetracks, and
we have.
You know, the thing that I always thought neat, and not so much on Goodwin's side, but yours, because a lot of women, you know, they're not going to sit in something like that and go to the racetrack. They're gonna, they want the luxury, especially if they're going to be traveling. But you're just as happy to climb up in the front of that every Saturday and head down the road.
This has air conditioning.
Oh, it has air conditioning. But talk about some of the trips, and that's got to be, when you look back on your racing career, and I'm sure there's nights you and Goodwin sit in the house around the fireplace or whatever, and you talk about those trips, you know, just the two of you riding in the truck. Those, I mean, obviously the championship matters and Goodwin's Hall of Fame induction and the results and things that have happened to you guys over the year, but those have got to be the special memories of just you and him in the truck traveling to and from the races.
And we make references to those all the time. I mean, that's like a current part of our vernacular, but stories like the night or the day that we were going over to Claremont with Rusty Black was in the front seat with us, which is pretty crowded. And it was our old hauler, the Ford, the older hauler. And the engine blew. And there was a huge cloud of smoke behind us on Route 89 over in Warner. And we had, I think it's like 50 miles to Claremont. Maybe that's not exactly right. But we had a ways to go. And Goodwin says, well, I think it's holding its own. We've lost half the motor, and this motor is set up so that it'll cool half of it. So we limped along, and there were several other funny stories about that trip over, but I'm not going to get into them on the air.
Oh, really? So those will be the late night ones.
Those will be the ones without the camera going.
So it's pretty neat to have an engine builder in the truck with you to diagnose the problem, huh?
Well, and then we pushed it. Yeah, I wouldn't have known what to do. The light comes on, I go, uh-oh, I'm in trouble here. But he kept saying to Rusty and me, well, he says, we're just going to keep going. We're going to race tonight. We're going to race tonight. We drove the truck all the way into the pits and up the hill in Claremont, and our pit was right next to the tower in the pits. And it got right up to like 20 feet ahead of the pit and stopped. And everybody jumped in the back of it and pushed the big old hauler and got it up to our pit pad, and we raced. And everybody kept saying to Goodwin, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? He said, I'm going to race. That's all I'm going to do. I'm going to race, and we'll deal with the rest of it when we're done.
Yeah.
And we did.
How'd you do that night? Do you remember?
I don't remember anything.
The night?
Second.
So
I just got the signal. Second.
Oh, so the story on that night is the hauler. Nothing to do with the racing.
No, it was the hauler.
Oh, no,
definitely
that's
the
good.
hauler. Definitely
Now,
the hauler.
Obviously, in preparation, getting the car ready for the 24th Annual Northeast Motorsports Expo. But how much more do you think that Ann Hannaford and Goodwin Haniford can do down the road? I mean...
Well, When we first got together, a little after 1990, I said to him, we will race until you're done. I didn't know what commitment I was making then, but we will. We'll race until Goodwin is done. And then when he's ready, we'll stop. We're not ready to stop yet. There were weeks last summer that I kept saying, oh, it's Friday again.
Yeah.
Cook again, load the truck, go off. And it's hard on us. But this is the place where the crew comes in. You know, we have good, responsible people with us, particularly Arthur and Josh himself, who are there for us. And, you know, we know that things are going to get done, and we can take I can't say that we can sit back in a chair, because Goodwin would never do that, nor would I. But, you know, it makes it easier because we're not doing the heavy work anymore.
You know, talk about the crew, some of those guys. I mean, you know, you don't need a big crew.
No.
You just need people willing to work, and it seems like that's what you guys have.
One of the things that we've found is that when you have too many people, it's harder, because everybody wants to help. And we appreciate everybody coming over and helping out. But we have Arthur and Josh's dad, Kevin Santerre, Chuck Moran, his friend, Paul Hammer. Who did I miss? Josh's good girlfriend, Jessica. Who? I missed what you said. Who? Anyway.
Did you get them all?
I don't know. I think I did. I probably missed somebody, and I'm in trouble for that. But, and we all have our things that we have our areas of interest and things that we know what we're doing, and everybody's happy doing it, for the most part.
Oh, we all have our days, but you know, truly congratulations to you and Goodwin and your whole team, because it's quite an accomplishment to win any championship at any level, but to do it in a high-powered modified with a young driver, that's an accomplishment.
We have had a lot of we've been real close to the championship a lot of times over all the years that we've raced. And I just felt from the beginning of this year, and I think Goodwin did, and a lot of us did, that this was our year. And there were some hard nights, but this was our year.
No, and you capped it off, and that's good.
Yep.
So thank you for taking the time with us here. And we're going to take a break on Mainly Motorsports. When we come back, you will hear from one of the all-time greats, patriarchs, and most recognizable motorsports personalities in the state of Maine, and that's Goodwin Haniford.
Hey, I'm Kyle Busch, and when I'm in Maine, I watch Mainly Motorsports.
At Southern Maine Motors, we're celebrating Jeep's 70th anniversary with our spring events. Get the vehicle you want at a price no one else can touch, like a 2011 Jeep Compass, leased for only $239 a month for 39 months, or a 2011 Jeep Grand Cherokee, leased for only $299 a month. Plus, right now, used car values are at an all-time high. Bring in your own vehicle and drive off in a brand new car. With savings this big, it's no wonder Southern Maine Motors is out to be Maine's #1 Chrysler Dodge Jeep dealer. Visit southernmainmotors.com.
Clark's Car Crushing has been a family-owned and operated business since 1978. We do everything from crushing cars, handling industrial scraps, to buying the scrap metal right out of the back of your pickup. Copper, brass, stainless steel, aluminum, you name it, we'll buy it. We have roll-off containers of all sizes for industrial accounts. We'll handle the legwork with full drop-off and pickup services. So for a professional job, guaranteed honest weights, and top dollar paid statewide, come see the Clark family in Farmingdale, Maine. Clark's Car Crushing. Don't fix it, scrap it.
You're watching Mainly Motorsports, brought to you by LKQ Corp. Any part, any repair, anywhere. Located on Route 202 in Gorham. Moody's Collision Centers, now in 5 convenient locations. Biddeford, Gorham, Portland, Sanford, and Scarborough.
Well, now I feel honored to be standing here, or I should say sitting here, on one of the famed 71s. And, you know, I never really knew a lot about Goodwin Haniford until I went, and there'll be a lot of other people go, oh yeah, I remember that day, when I was up to the Augusta Civic Center 2 years ago, when Goodwin got inducted into the Hall of Fame. And, you know, listen to his speech and talk about the history of him and his involvement in motorsports over the years. And, you know, it really makes you appreciate what some of these guys have done for this sport. And that's why the Josh Santerres of the world have the opportunities in motorsports that they have today because of the way that the people like Goodwin Haniford have paved the way for this racing game. And to still be involved, it's just, I think it's awesome. So, you know, I know you guys are all going to enjoy what Goodwin has to say about his racing career, his involvement with Josh, and some of the great things that he's been able to accomplish in his racing career. So, you know, with that, Goodwin, I want to start this off by asking you, why Josh Santerre? With the amount of young talent, old talent, guys that can win in race cars out there, what brought you a few years back to decide on a young kid with a little bit of go-karting experiences, a couple years in a little beater truck, and 2 years of Pro Series racing, to put him in the famed 71?
You've got to go back a ways to understand my answer. We've been blessed with fantastic drivers. We've had, from the day we started with Willie Elliott right up through to Josh, we've really had a string of drivers: Pete Rondeau, Peter Daniels, Russ Hersey, Roger Raymond. I can't think.
Tons of them.
Yeah, tons of them. But there's one Joe Bessie has driven, you know, and we've been very, very lucky to have that quality of driver drive the cars that we've had. But I think it was 5 years ago, 6 years ago, Josh and his father came to me and wanted a motor for Pro Stock at Beech Ridge. And I didn't really know them, other than Chuck Moran, who used to be on Dwight Shepard's crew, made a reference for me to do their motor. So they came, they brought the motor in, we made an arrangement to do it and do what they wanted to do to it. And I was working on that car, cutting it apart and making it a Hannaford instead of a Troya. And he said, "Who's going to drive the modified?" And I said, "Well, I don't know yet." I said, "We've got plenty of time to think about that." And he said, "Can I drive it?" And he was, I think, 14, maybe 15 years old at the time. And I said, any kid that would stick his nose in my office and ask if he could drive a modified is got the mentality of somebody that I'd like to work with. So anyway, I started helping them a little bit that first year that they ran the Pro Stock at Beech Ridge. And it was moderately successful. I think he finished 11th, something like that, in the point standings. And for a 15-year-old kid in a Pro Stock with all those grizzly old veterans, Bob Bilodeau, Steve Carrier, Mike Mayetta, and all those people, it was awesome. But the following year, I told Ann, I said, this kid has got something special. And we didn't have a race car that following year. We were still building this one. And I started helping them on a regular basis. And the first meet and greet session that they had at Beech Ridge, Josh's mother handed me a fan card and they listed me as their crew chief, which I had no knowledge of. But anyway, that's how that started. And Josh became enormously successful that year. In fact, right up until the last 4 races, he was actually a contender for the title. He won his show. He started 18th and drove right around everybody, right around the outside, drove right to the front. And then, I'll never forget, the last race of the year, he got in a little bit of a tussle with Mike Rowe and beat him at it. And finished 4th, and Mike Rowe finished 5th in one of the 100-lap opens at the end of the season that year. So then, fast forward to about 4 weeks after that, Ann and I decided we ought to take him in the modified and go over to Star Speedway and test. And we did. And Bobby MacArthur, who was running at the track that time, said, he's as fast as anybody that we've got here. We decided that maybe this might work. And he said, why don't you come down and run the 2 features we've got Saturday night? And this was on a Wednesday. So I said, geez, I don't know if we can make Saturday night, and what's it going to cost us? He said, you got to run the same tires anyway. He said, 1 set of tires, and you can run what you've got on it for tires. Well, we didn't. We bought a set of American races, but we went out, and Josh had to start last, and his first feature, that he started dead last, which I think was 19th. He finished 5th. And I knew then that we'd made the right decision. And the second feature, he started way back because he was a rookie, had the yellow stripe and everything on the rear bumper. He got up through, and I don't remember how high he got, maybe 4th or something like that. And with 10 laps to go, he broke a piston. And I said, it's the last race of the year, stay out there and finish it. And he did. He finished, I think, 7th, or 8th, with a broken piston, 7 cylinders, in a modified with that field of veterans that they had over there.
Now, you've kind of been modified through and through. And I mean, once you got into it, you fell in love with it, you stayed in it. Mm-hmm. Compare him to a couple of other main drivers that have had a lot of success in the modifieds. Compare him against Willie Elliott. Compare him against David Pinkham. 2 totally different driving styles.
Completely.
Is he somewhere in the middle?
That's a hard thing to do because David, on the one hand, is exceedingly conservative. In fact, he raced 17 races for us at Claremont in one season, and he bent 1 wheel, no rear bumpers, 7 front bumpers. That says something about David.
Yep.
We finished 3rd in the points that year, 28 points out of the lead. Willie Elliott, we finished, we had a tie for 3rd place, but where we were the newcomers and we only won 1 feature at Beechridge that first year that Willie drove, we were relegated to 4th place trophy, but we had a tie with Joe Unwin and Tommy Oliver for 3rd place in the points that first year. However, that first year that Willie was driving with us, we won the mid-season championship when we were 78 points in the lead at mid-season that first year. But completely different driving style.
All 3 of them.
All 3 of them. But this guy right here has a unique ability to size up who he's racing with and watch their patterns out on the racetrack and figure a way to get by him.
Find that weak spot.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Now, when I think of you, Goodwin, and look at you, and I don't want this to sound disrespectful, I take it as an honor when I say, you're so laid, you give me that country boy farmer approach.
Thank you. Thank you. You couldn't have said anything.
You know what I mean?
Better.
Just walking around, kind of. But the question I have, is there something, or are there times at the racetrack when you get amped up or fired up or a little irritated? I just want to know. I mean,
I got a 2-part answer here.
Okay.
First of all, we raced with Dwight Jarvis, who was a good friend, for 11 years. Yeah. And Dwight Jarvis and Bonnie, his wife, and his crew called us the farmers from Maine. And that's why I laughed so when you said that. Oh, yeah. But anyway, yeah, Ann and I both are pretty passionate about this. We both can get very passionate. I'll never forget one night we had a real bad night out on the racetrack at Claremont. I mean, we got abused by the officials, by Kirby Monteith, by Rusty Ball, and they wound up both being good friends of ours. However, we had a bad night. And rather than go up into the tower and meet with the officials after the race, I decided it was time to put the car away and calm down a little. Because I was mad enough to tear somebody a brand new one. Well, I got the car pretty well put away, and I couldn't find Ann. I couldn't figure out, geez, you know, she's usually helping me put the car away. Well, I said, to heck with her, I'm going up the tower. And I started up the tower, and here she comes out of the tower with a security guard on each side of her, ushering her out of the tower and down over the steps. So I went up, and I finished what she'd started.
Did you get anywhere with it?
No, you never do.
All right. Well, there you have a very special crew member. You know, obviously any crew member is special, but you have a special one, Arthur, your son, that the last few years has gotten more and more involved in your racing. Always was involved, but did some of his own racing. Greg's going to have a word with him, and we're going to hear from what he has to say about racing with you and what it means to him and his racing.
Now I'm standing here with Goodwin's son, Arthur Hannaford, who had a pretty good racing career himself, too, for a while there. And now he's a key member on the Hannaford Racing Team as a crew member on Josh Canterra's car. Arthur, talk to us a little bit about what it means to go from being a driver to now being a crew member and how that translates into what you do for these guys.
Well, I guess the first thing that comes to mind is that one of the things that has kept me involved and kept me excited and made me as passionate about being involved with the modified as I have become is that in recalling the days when I was driving myself, which I do miss, Josh can do things with a race car that I could have only dreamt of. And seeing the work that we've put in during the course of the week, do some just absolutely incredible things on the racetrack, is nearly as good as sitting in the seat yourself.
Yeah, it's a common feeling to see that, to feel that. It's hard to describe to anybody who hasn't done it, you know?
Yeah, I think I get the same adrenaline rush.
Yeah, it's an adrenaline rush. It's the same idea. Now, a lot of father and son combos that we talk about are a father bringing his young son up and stuff like that. And at one time, that was you and your dad. But now you and your dad do something different. Talk about what it means to work with your dad in and out every week, putting this together, and what he's meant, you know, what he's taught you, all the different aspects, and what kind of focus he's had on your life up to now.
Our racing history goes back a long, long ways when he would have to get special permission to get me into the pits to tend to some of his racing engines. And I remember sitting in the J2 Camaro when I couldn't have been much more than 8 or 9 years old, bumping it over so we could adjust the valves. And we have been racing together more or less ever since, in one capacity or another. And I consider myself to be extremely fortunate, one, to have acquired the wealth of knowledge that I have from him, and also from, you know, situations that we've worked on together. But to have the opportunity to do something that I'm passionate about with somebody who was a mentor, but also one of my closest friends, you know, to have that relationship with your father, I consider myself very, very fortunate. And, you know, that makes it an awful lot of fun to go and see the fruits of our collective labors each week, and, you know, watch the results on the racetrack.
Right. And I want to thank you, Arthur, for having a few minutes with us. Now we're going to push it back to Steve, and he's going to finish up with Goodwin. But this, folks, is another example of family in racing. Get out there with your family.
Thinking about a new camper? What if you could get a new camper now and not pay for it till next year? Now you can at Scott's Recreation. Buy a new travel trailer, we'll make your payments until January 2012. Buy any new fifth wheel, we'll make your payments until March 2012. Over 100 units in stock and online at scottsrecreation.com. Camp now, pay later.
Scott's Recreation, Route 4 Turner and Route 202 Manchester, Maine.
All of us at Moody's Collision Centers would like to thank you for supporting us for over 30 years.
We all own stock in Moody's and have a vested interest in you and your vehicle.
The people at Moody's Collision Centers are part of the community, and our reputation is very important to us.
We take pride in our work and guarantee our repairs for as long as you own your vehicle.
At Moody's Collision Center, we care about our customers.
So when your insurance company asks where you want to go, tell them Moody's Collision Centers. 4 convenient locations: Gorham, Scarborough, Biddeford, and now Portland.
People will do whatever they gotta do to get to Ossipee Trail Motor Sales, Route 25, Gorham.
You're watching Mainly Motorsports, brought to you by Northern Race Tire, dealer for Sunoco Race Fuels, distributed by New England Racing Fuel.
We just heard from your son, Arthur, who takes a lot of pride in the fact that not only working on the car with you, you're a father, you're a friend, but talk about how special it is to have your son turning wrenches with you, right next to you, working together on the weekends. For this isn't a job, this is a hobby, and you're doing it together, and to cap it off as a championship.
It just doesn't get any better. It does not get any better. I've always treasured my relationship that I've had with all my children, but especially that one, especially Arthur. He is exceedingly bright. He takes a concept and runs with it, and we bounce these things off of each other, and this is why some of the stuff that you see may be a little unconventional underneath the race car, because that's how we work. We make a lot of our own stuff, and his math background and his intellect has been a tremendous help to me.
And I don't know if you know this, but I graduated with Arthur, went to school with him. Yeah, he is very smart. You know how I know he was smart? Because we were never in any classes together. Okay? So if he wasn't in my classes, I know he was smart.
Well, you and I probably could have been in the same classes then.
You know, yeah, so, but no, and that's got to be so rewarding, because, you know, you a lot of it, and like Greg touched on, it's the father owns it, the father's the crew chief, the son drives it, you know? So you have that special relationship, but to, you know, I look at it, and the only name when I think of that comes to mind, and obviously it's above the rest of us, is the Uries, you know, come up through the Earnhardt clan, you know what I mean? Working side by side, and obviously they've gone their ways where they each got their own duties now, but at one time they were working together, and they groomed a lot of young drivers, a lot of young, very talented drivers, and they did it together, similar to what you guys are doing with Josh.
Yeah. And that's the other thing that I was going to say, is that Josh and Arthur have a real strong relationship, and it's also a unique relationship, because lots of times I can be a little bit harsh, maybe. I've been, I think, harsh with Josh twice in his driving career since he's been driving wheeling the modified. Arthur is much softer and does an awful lot better job with Josh than I can. You know, he and Josh get along well. They do things together other than just wheel the modified, and they've got a good relationship. So that is very thankful for me too.
Now talk about the 2011 season, the championship season. You know, I mean, you don't got to take us through each week, because I know you can, Goodwin. But
I talk too much, right?
Well, it's only an hour show, right? But take us through the highs, the lows, right into that last night, going in with the opportunity to win a championship.
Okay, I've summed it up for several people that have asked me similar questions. And when you start opening day, getting pushed into the opening and the front stretch wall and totaling your race car, and come out of there with the lowest number of points that you possibly can, and then 6 weeks later be leading the points and never relinquish the lead again, that's a bright point. You know, it's a testament to what that young man is capable of doing. It's a testament to what my son and the rest of that crew can do. My wife and I just stand back and watch now.
And that's what she touched on, and that's had to make things a little easier.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Now, you've had these cars at shows for many years, so I've looked at some of the names on them, and they continue to be the same names that you had years ago that you still have today. You had a lot of help throughout the years, so it had to be rewarding for some of those sponsors to be involved in the championship season.
Yes, it is. We've got some that just came forward. In fact, our biggest sponsor just came forward and offered. I didn't ask for anything, didn't even know that he was a racing fan. Come to find out, I don't think he is a real racing fan. He just wanted to help us with that project, that program. So.
Yeah, we'll talk about some of those guys, and you know, that have been with you over the years.
Well,
you seem to attract food places.
Yeah, we do, because we all like to eat. But the Casco Bay Steel Structures is our biggest sponsor. And he is a former student of mine when I taught at Cape Elizabeth High School. And he came to me, I think 3 years ago now, and said, I'd like to give back. And I didn't know what he was talking about. And he said, I now own Casco Bay Steel Structures. He said, when I graduated from your program at Cape Elizabeth High School, he said, I became a welder for Bancroft Martin. I said, I knew that. And he said, I worked up to be foreman. And then he had worked into some higher position than that with Bancroft Martin. And then they sold out, went belly up, whatever. And he borrowed some money from his aunt and built and made Casco Bay Steel Structures. And they are one of the largest bridge beam manufacturing facilities in New England, if not the largest. They also are selling stuff in Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, and so forth. And he just wanted to say thank you. And he continues to keep wanting to say thank you. And it's fantastic.
No, that's good. Now, 2 years ago, the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
This past season, the championship.
Mm-hmm.
What's left on the Goodwin Haniford racing bucket list for you to accomplish?
To keep going as long as I possibly can, and keep fielding winning race cars as long as I possibly can, but most importantly, to give back to my son and to that young man some of the things that have been given to me over the years.
Well, that's pretty good, because it's always nice when you see the older generation thinking of the younger generation and want to teach them things and give back, because we don't see a lot of that. Now, go ahead.
Two things happened this year that tell me that that is the right approach. In fact, they actually one thing on two different crew and driver behalf down at Star Speedway. One night we had a motor problem, and we didn't think that we were going to be able to complete the race, and only by a jug of Moroso ceramic seal did I patch up a cylinder head, and that was the night that we really had a fantastic point night. There were two features that night. We got second in both of them, and we got an extra $200 check from Kevin Rice from the Auto Area Racing News. And that night, though, before we went out, we had a guy that owns a car, and the driver owns the car, and his crew chief came to us and said, our car is yours for the night, if you need it. I said, what? He said, it's 07, all we'll have to do is take out the O and put a 1 behind it. He said, it will be the 71 car, and you do anything you want with it. Well, what a testament to what we have earned for respect on his part and the part of my crew. So
yeah, no, you're right.
And shortly thereafter, another guy had a car that he lost his driver. His driver and the owner decided to split up. And I forget what happened, we broke something. Maybe that was the night we had drive shaft trouble or something. But he came to us and he says, I understand you got troubles. And I said, well, we may have. He says, you know, that 02 is yours. He says, the only reason I'm bringing it here every week is to make sure you get that championship. And here again, those gestures mean more to me than you can imagine.
No, I can imagine.
Yep.
Now, I got one more question.
Yep.
It's a one-word answer. I know it's going to be hard. Has it all been worth it?
Yes.
And there you have it, folks. Right here from the shop that the Hannaford Racing Team calls home. You heard from the 4 vital parts that put this championship season together. So congratulations to Goodwin, Ann, Josh, and Arthur, the 2011 Star Speedway Modified Champions.
Patman's Redemption and Agency Liquor Store is located at 95 Tanberg Trail in Windham, Maine. With over 400 feet of hard liquor and 15 doors of ice-cold beer and soda, Patman's can handle all of your beverage needs. And if it's wine on your agenda, we have over 300 varieties in stock. Then when the party's over, Patman's can handle all of your main returnables, and we welcome all bottle drives. And if you're late for the race, drop off the bottles and pick up the cash at your convenience.
Hey, this is Patman himself, just letting you know that Patman's is your one-stop shop for all your thirsty needs.
Is it time to replace that old car, but past credit problems are getting in the way? At JT Motors, credit issues are a thing of the past. We have vehicles for any need. Growing family? How about a minivan? With winter here, come in and browse our great selection of four-wheel drive utilities. With a low down payment, you can qualify for this program despite those past credit issues. That's JT Motors, 650 Roosevelt Trail, Windham, where you always drive away with a smile on your face.
You're watching Mainly Motorsports, brought to you by Southern Maine Motors, out to be Maine's #1 Chrysler Dodge Jeep dealership, Route 1 Saco. Gary Hotels, located in Brunswick, Freeport, Waterville, and Augusta, the official hotel of Mainly Motorsports. Award Champs, rewarding your champions, the official supplier of Mainly Motorsports.
Welcome back to this week's edition of Mainly Motorsports. Wow, we just blew through another show.
Yeah, well, you know, they were pretty proud of their accomplishments and their driver and their whole organization. So, and like I said, we'll have Josh on next week and get to hear from him and his take on everything. But, you know, it's December. The Mainleys are still going on, and that's, I tell you.
How's that going? Is there votes cranking in?
Yeah, they're cranking up. And
Seems to be a lot of chatter on Facebook.
There's, you know, when we taped this show, we were approaching 4,000 votes, and there's categories that people are within 20 votes of each other.
Right.
So there's a couple runaways, which you always have. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there's some real close battles, and it's going to be neat. And you know, when we close voting on December 20th, get the plaques done and present them at the 24th annual Northeast Motorsports Expo, which don't forget coming up January 6th, 7th, and 8th. And Andy Santerre is going to be there. All your tracks are going to be represented. You'll see drivers walking around. We're still, you know, I know it stinks to say this, but we're still tying a few things in and together, you know, to try to make it as good as it's been the past 2 years.
And I'm sure it will be, yeah.
You know, we want to keep it growing, and, you know, we have a lot of fan support, and, you know, so go to the Northeast Motorsports Expo.net website for more information on that. The MainelyMotorsportsTV.com website for more information on the Mainleys and other things going on with the show. If you missed any past episodes, you can catch them online there. We put them up on YouTube, usually the day after the show airs. And then the next episode, you got to make sure you tune in because we got a major announcement, big deal. It isn't a big deal for everybody, but even if it doesn't fall into your criteria type of thing,
it's very cool.
It's still pretty neat we were able to put something together like this on Mainly Motorsports. So for Greg, I'm Steve, and I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving and enjoy this month of December as it leads up into the Northeast Motorsports Expo. And we'll see you next time on Mainly Motorsports.
To order copies of a show, send a check or money order for $15, shipping and handling included, to Mainly Motorsports, 326 Roosevelt Trail, Windham, Maine, 04062. And please add a description of the show.